everybody. Okay, it's Gary Lucas. Let's grab this thing over here. It's so nice to be with you today on Thursday, the 21st of January. A significant numerological date, 1/21/21. What does that mean? Reads the same thing backwards and forwards. No, it's another palindromic kind of date, sort of. So I've switched over to the electric mode, as you can see, by popular demand of Lulu, because it's really funny. This is sort of her area, where it used to be where the electric guitar sitting was her little pad, where we would often find her napping. But as the thing functions so well as a guitar stand, she was usurped from her position, and then she loves to nap on the couch over there, in the very spot Jeff Buckley wrote Grace and Mojo Pin and all these songs with me, 12 songs. And well, anyway, since I took over with the effects, I put them away kind of. I mean, how I worked here for years was this was my workstation. I wrote most of my significant music right here in this spot. And I used to have a little DAT, a Pro DAT machine. That was the only format in those days, really, for excellent home taping quality. I thought it was superior to the 4-track, was it an Ampex? Whatever was out in those days that people loved to use to demo stuff up. I preferred the DAT, although it was only 2 tracks, but the quality was great. The only problem was the DAT cartridge itself had all sorts of mechanical malfunctions, and the digitization was often accompanied by random clicks and pops, and it was a problem. So anyway, I chunked it after some years, although on my early albums, there's usually 1 or 2 pieces that were done right here with my effects, straight to DAT. All the demos I did with Jeff Buckley that are on Songs to Know One, they were done here through pretty much the same gear. And well, anyway, when we got Lulu, which was in 2009, and that's a good story in itself. I was walking on Christopher Street. I live in the West Village and pretty close to Christopher Street. There is a shop called Parrots and Pups, a pet store. And in the window, in the glass window in Excelsior newspaper scraps, 2 little schnauzer, mini schnauzer puppies were cavorting. And I was just drawn to gawk at them, basically, because they were so cute. And Carolyn had been after me for years to get a dog, and I always resisted, saying, oh no, you know, the dog would chew up my guitar cables and effects, and you know, it's not safe. I was a mean old, you know, man at an early age. So at this point, though, I was just so attracted to this dog. One of them, Lulu, just vibed me through the glass with the most soulful look in her eyes, kind of like, take me home, please, look. And I determined right there, I'm going to get one of these dogs. So I went home and told Caroline, and she was really surprised because it was not with the program I had more or less tried to institute for many years, let's say, or I resisted. And she was like, really? I can't believe it. So I said, well, you have to go with me tomorrow and let's look at them before they get sold. So we went over there the next day, and the employee I talked to about Lulu brought them both out, and it was a brother and sister, Lulu being the female. And I said, well, you have to choose. And she said, oh, well, it'd be a shame to walk away without both of them. And I said, no, we don't really have the space or the money. I mean, these were pedigreed schnauzer, mini schnauzers, so they were expensive. They were going for, I think, about $1,000 each. So she said, all right, well, I'm going to choose the girl, the female. And that's what we did. And so anyway, at that point, I mean, in preparation for Lulu, I just put everything away and said, I'm going to write acoustically or without amplification and effects for a while. And that grew to be years. I just put them away and, you know, used them live. alive, in the live situation, but they were safely packed away in a suitcase in the closet. Anyway, Lulu, we set up a little kind of, they gave us fencing that made a little cage, they call them cages. And we put her in there, and they were saying, oh, well, you know, these schnauzers take care of themselves. They're incredibly easy and not high maintenance at all. Wrong. Anyway, the very first night, we said, goodbye, Lulu. We're going to bed now. We left her in the cage, and she started to howl piteously until such time, a few minutes went by. And I came back, and I plucked her out of the cage that she was set up in, and we brought her to sleep with us in the other room on a pillow. And that's where it all began. So she basically took over the apartment. Now, when I started doing these live stream broadcasts in March, I did the first batch mainly acoustically, and then I thought, damn, I'm going to put the effects back together, such as they are. I mean, because what I have before me represents only about half of what I used to go out with. And I just reduced them for practical reasons, basically. Certainly, to fly with a lot of pedals, you know, kids invest lots of money to build pedal boards and have cases made for them. Just try flying in the interior of Europe from country to country, not very long distances, and see what they will gouge you with vis-a-vis overweight charges. It's prohibitively expensive unless you're in a major military campaign type group, and this can all be amortized in the budget. But anyway, when I went to Holland, I have to say, in late October, to play at the So What's Next festival in Eindhoven, and then work in Maastricht with Peter Willems, a project I'm very excited about. Peter, if you're listening, I hope the vocals are going well. I basically brought him some of these effects, but again, it was stripped down. I don't really need them to make noise with, but all right. So as advertised, because Lulu is, I mean, this is a roundabout way of saying, she's made her peace with these bits of metal out here, and so I caught her napping on a couple of tables. She likes nothing better to do, I'm sorry, a couple of cables. Lulu likes nothing better to do than to pounce with her paws these days and kind of nap on things like electrical, what do we call them, you know, power strip outlets. Not really very safe, you know. She'll nap with her head on the power strip, and it's like, oh, nice. What she's going to do next. She loves the clicker, you know, that you can channel surf your flat screen with the device that you click on to get from channel to channel. This makes an excellent chin rest for Lulu. And in fact, apparently, schnauzers are really big on propping their heads up when they sleep. I've learned so much about this peculiar breed of dog. Anyway. emendation. Well, I could go on. Maybe I'll go on again. I love that groove. That's Pharoah Sanders who composed that, and it's a whole side of that great Karma album on ABC Impulse from about 1966. It's magnificent, and it's really, it holds up over the years. And in light of the beautiful inauguration ceremony yesterday, isn't that an amazing, transfixing moment? I mean, in history, it was really like the clouds lifted, or this poison cloud particularly, named Trump, dispersed, who'd been choking the planet for 4 years. At least that's how it felt to me, and I was watching it pretty attentively. Caroline was really into it. We adored everything about it. It just seemed such an oasis of sanity and tranquility after the madness of a couple of weeks ago, like it was all blown away. But we must never forget, and I hope the news media continues to remind us of the heinous activity incited by you-know-who and his cohorts, and that they're all eventually tracked down and brought to justice, every one of them. And I, myself, am still appalled at the House, the count of like 176 representatives who, after the insurrection, went ahead and reaffirm their commitment to the belief that the election was stolen. I mean, and they all knew better. We know they all knew better. So it was just a disgusting, nakedly grab at power, through the collective will of these people. But they couldn't override the sentiments of the day. And anyway, I hope they all get censured because every one of them knew better. My belief. And I don't see how any fair-minded person would say differently. But anyway, I have very close relatives who believe quite the opposite, and I've just given up trying to talk to them about this or reason with them. They definitely drank the Kool-Aid, the Fox News Kool-Aid, and they're down the rabbit hole. And what can you say? I kept switching to Fox News too. I can't stand Tucker Carlson and his sarcastic baiting of people like Joy Reid, and, it's just so divisive, so disgusting. I hope we can all pull together, I mean, I'm an old cynic too, but I was uplifted. I thought that was just transcendental and a beautiful moment yesterday, and I hope that good feeling stays with us and pervades through the Biden administration and beyond, because everything he said I would agree with, and we have to overlook differences, although God knows it's hard. So, let's see. These loops have a tendency to have a life of their own. They leak through the device. So if you're listening on phones, you may hear a very faint, ghostly loop. It doesn't go away until you switch off the Soul Machine. But I do want to say thank you to a couple of people who were so generous. Zach Silver. Love you, Gary, he wrote. Thank you. I love you guys, too, all of you. Kenneth Spreeman, thank you. Mark Green, I didn't see your usual generous contribution there. Were you holding? No, just kidding. But I'm sure you had other stuff going on, as we all do. But thanks, everybody who continues to watch or tune in. And there's new ones all the time. There was a guy from Hamburg the other day. I welcome it. Tell your friends, spread the word, because the way things are, you really have to make fans, one fan at a time these days, although there's been some amazing press, particularly in the UK. I hit the trifecta. I want to say thank you to Ruben Tai for all your efforts. He also books me over there. He's a great guy. Great job, Ruben. And Jim Merlis, it goes without saying, he's my main guy in the U.S. I've known him since he was a little shaver working for Upside Records, which was kind of an indie label I A&R'd for out the back door of CBS Records. And Jimmy was always a great guy, and he has a PR firm that I've worked with from time to time, and he's also done a good job spreading the word, and I hope it continues. And that's The Essential Gary Lucas. Essentially is coming out January 29th in a mere 8 days. It will be available for you, and it's a thing of beauty as a physical object, I think. And it wasn't constructed with the usual jewel case. I mean, it's a double CD, and digitally it's available on all the usual platforms. And maybe there will be a vinyl version of it. I hope so. I know I have a friend, Verdiana Garau, in Italy, who's working hard on trying to see a single album come out in Italy. She's talking to the Knitting Factory label. I hope this goes through. And I'll put something special that isn't on the double album package currently as a bonus track. And that would be for all my Italian fans. I mean, there's a lot of activity going on. I don't want to jinx it by talking about it too much, but I'm thrilled that it's finally coming out for your delectation. And I'll put an order link again, because you can pre-order the double CD from, I think it's Amazon. They'll give you some options on the link. But, okay, and so what else can I talk to you about? I'm really loving this book, Wild Minds, by Rita Mueller. He's a fantastic writer. It's a history of early days of the animation industry in the U.S., which really coalesced around New York until Walt Disney got going on the West Coast, and Disney kind of rolled up most of Fleischer's animators. I mean, I'm a partisan Max Fleischer, Dave Fleischer fan, and if you know my work, I did a whole album called Fleischerei, which is German for butcher shop. My little joke there. Gary Lucas's Fleischerei, where I covered with a crack ensemble a lot of music from the Fleischer cartoons, particularly Betty Boop and Popeye. But there's so much of it. These guys were hooked up with Paramount, who also had a record label at that time, so they had access to some great Paramount recording artists, such as Louis Armstrong, who's so great in a cartoon called I'll Be Glad When You're Dead, You Rascal You. You should Google that one, it's pretty good. And also, of course, Cab Calloway, who stars pretty much as is himself in two of them that I can think of, maybe three. And they appear in little vignettes filmed at Fleischer Studios at the top of the cartoons. Anyway, check out that book, Wild Minds, if you're interested at all in Fleischer, Disney, and beyond, because there's a whole bit about Warner Brothers animation studios with people like Chuck Jones, and they were doing amazing work there that kind of flew in the face of Disney, who they mercilessly satirized in many of their cartoons. But I just got in a new book that I can't wait to read, and I'll hold it up, and as we're not in a mirror image world, maybe you can see it. It's called Four of the Three Marx Brothers, okay? And it's by Robert S. Bader. And the subtitle is The Marx Brothers on Stage. Now, I am a stone Marx Brothers fan, and I can tell you, my old friend Robert Melvin Rubin and Steve Hendel and I, and we gathered to have private showings of all of their classic films, and we were freshmen in university. We got hold of a projector and prints that were going to be shown at the Yale Film Society, and we had these private screenings, and we adored them. I always have. They never fail to cheer me up. You've probably seen their classics, such as A Day at the Races, or Night at the Opera, Horse Feathers and Duck Soup. I'm a particular fan of The Coconuts, which was filmed at Astoria Studios in Queens, not far from the Museum of the Moving Image, where I premiered the Golem score that I co-wrote with Walter Horn, an excerpt of which is on this new album coming out. Anyway, this book goes into their early stage history, which is not well covered, but they were stars in vaudeville and they appeared on Broadway in several comedies, the most well-known of which is The Coconuts, but they did others, and this book goes into lavish detail, I'm told, about that, and it comes with a recommendation from Jerry Seinfeld, who I adore, along with Larry David. Every night, pretty much, Carolyn and I are occupied from 11 p.m. to midnight watching Channel 11 here, because they show all the Seinfelds, two back-to-back every night, sometimes out of sequence. I have to say, somebody up there at Channel 11 should pay more attention, because they do a mirror image thing where they're out of sequence, and anyway, if you know their work, I mean, I was a latecomer to Seinfeld. Honestly, I didn't really get into it until the very last year, when it was like so undeniable, and the fact that they were going off the air at the end of the year, and Seinfeld would call it quits. But I've seen them all numerous times, and they never fail to crack me up. They put me in a good mood, so it's a nice prelude to then reading, which I'll do till, I don't know, sometimes 3 a.m. here during the pandemic. I am a voracious reader, but this book was plugged by Seinfeld in a recent interview. And then I went to obtain it through Amazon, and lo and behold, it was out of print. I think so many people were sent to try and order a copy of it, because not many of us are venturing into bookstores, unfortunately, now. So finally, it's been reprinted, because they were out of it for a couple of months, and I just got it. So I can't wait to read it and find out more about that period. And, well, gee, I better play something else here. It was a gab fest today, but I'm in a particularly loquacious mood, so. So we'll just do a little pure improv to wrap it up for today. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. I love you, and I'll see you on Saturday, okay? That was even too much for Lily. She got up and walked out. Okay, bye now.